Idiots of the internet, what is the stupidest thing you've done? Responded to my own Craigslist ad looking for a roommate. I literally thought, oh, she sounds cool, and only realized after I received the email from myself. I was riding my bike and wondered what would happen if I stuck my feet in the spokes of my front tire. The answer? Flipped over the handlebars, broke my 2 front teeth, and I got road rash on half my face. Late for work, running around the house looking for my keys. Ran upstairs, saw them on the desk, pointed at them and said to the air, "There they are!" I was nearly back at the front door when I realized I hadn't actually picked them up. I got pretty wasted on tranquilizers and booze. That would already be stupid enough, but my sauced-up brain had bigger plans. Being done with my bender, I decided to go home by public bus, which I'd just missed and could see driving down the road. So I did exactly what would be the reasonable and responsible thing to do. I flagged down the cop car that was approaching and asked him to pull over the bus. He asked if I'd been drinking, so I said, yes, that's why I'm taking the bus home instead of driving. He said he'd give me a lift and I got in. I have no recollection of what happened until the next day, but my mum told me a very nice police officer dropped me off at home and I'd drooled all over his back seat. I work as a substitute middle school teacher. At the beginning of each day, the kids listen to the announcements. One time, they announced that one of the students who'd been battling a terminal illness passed away the night before. So me, being the great guy that I am, decided to give the students 5 minutes of time to sit quietly and reflect. Then I decided to lighten the mood by calling attendance. So I used bizarre inflection to entertain the students. I called out, "Tyler?" No response. Called it out again, no response. Finally, one student piped up and said that was the kid that we'd just had a 5-minute silence for. This was after I'd called out his name several times with differing tones of voice to be comical, while all the students saw was me bashing the dead kid. Frick. Oh boy, all of these so far, apart from the tranquilizer one, are things that the narrator could imagine themselves doing. But this final one especially. Well-meaning joke to get the poor kids to smile turns into a horrible, disrespectful moment. Well done. In a spelling bee, I spelled the word Python Python. I was quickly reminded that eth is not a letter, though to this day I think that maybe it should be. I woke up one night, I saw a hand on my pillow, started to freak out, froze, waited, decided I'd move, screamed and jumped when the hand moved. It was my hand. I once fell asleep with my hand above my head, so it fell completely asleep. In the middle of the night, a hand flopped onto my chest, completely numb. So I woke up with a hand on my chest that I couldn't feel. Scared the crap out of me. I turned left onto a one-way street, where I should have gone right. That wasn't so bad until I panicked and then did a U-turn around the median onto yet another one-way street. Still going the wrong way. Enter my first and only car accident. I tooted one time when I was little. I thought, how can I get my bum to stop smelling so bad? My solution? Spray air freshener up my butt. I spent the next couple of minutes writhing in pain with a burning booty hole. I stapled my finger to see if stapling my finger was possible. Can confirm, it is. I let my friend shoot me with a blowgun dart we bought at the flea market. It hurt a lot at first, but then Bautista won the Royal Rumble on PPV an hour later and everything went numb. And 3 days later, our video of me being shot with it was featured on The Soup. One time I went through the drive-thru at Dunkin' Donuts and stopped at the trash can instead of the speaker for about 5 to 8 minutes, repeatedly saying, "Hello? I work in fast food answering in drive-thru a lot of the time, and you just made me laugh so hard. Thanks." I have a theory that people switch over to their reserve brain or something when they get to a drive-thru speaker box. They just do and say weird things. Went back to a girl's house after dinner. She had early class the next day, so gets ready for bed, but says I can stay and keep her company for a while. Laying in her bed, she's in silk pajamas, I'm fully clothed. We're just talking, and I start running my hand up and down her back. She says, you'd better stop that, I'm getting turned on. So I stopped, like a fricking idiot. I hole-punched my hair, thinking that I'd get a perfect little circle all surrounded by hair. I was so shocked when it cut my hair and I just couldn't understand why for far too long of a time. I put an umbrella handle in my mouth and pushed the button to release the umbrella. I thought the umbrella would shoot out the front of my mouth and open. Instead, the handle extended back into my mouth and broke my front teeth. No idea why I thought that. I was 11 and I thought for about 5 months I'd invited the act of flicking the bean and even told my friends about it. That ended up being my 5 months of fame. PE in high school. We did quite a bit of rope climbing and it felt great. I didn't really know what was going on, but I absolutely loved rope climbing. I used to be too scared to go on the roof of the gym, but when things started feeling good, I'd climb like there was no tomorrow. I asked some of my classmates if they felt the same way, but never got a straight answer out of them. I had the same thing, only with a pole that stood on the playground. So basically, I was a pole dancer at the age of 10. I clicked on an adult video link at work, thinking that if I closed the window really fast, the system wouldn't know. I mean, that kinda works. You were looking at adult material? No, sir, it was one of those stupid pop-up ads. Got me right when I clicked. I closed it immediately, you can see it in the system. If I was actually looking at that material, wouldn't you see a lot more connections made just beyond the one? And then they check the records and it shows you're right. When I was younger, I got kicked out of ballet class because I kept running into the mirrors thinking they were open windows or like portals to another world or something. Last weekend, my friend asked for a ride across town since he left his phone at a bar the previous night. Somehow I heard car instead of phone, so I dropped him off and drove home. I don't answer calls while I'm driving since I'm a bad driver too, so I didn't realize I missed 3 of his calls until I got home. I'm sure there's others, but my memory's going pretty fast as well. Not me, but a friend of mine was dead serious and asked, why don't wheelchairs have pedals for when your arms get tired? A friend came to my house, knocked on my door. When I answered it, I was greeted with, "Hey, are you home?" The narrator hopes that the answer was a stern no, followed by you slamming the door on their face and just waiting to see what they did next. Namely, I'm interested in if they believed you and went home. Missed the school bus and potential rides to school one morning because I couldn't find my backpack. Eventually, realized it was on my back. I asked my wife, who was upstairs, to drop my phone down to me. As it was falling, I thought it would be cool to catch a phone with one finger. It wasn't cool. When my girlfriend asked why I was always late when going to her place, my response was, I'm only late for things that aren't important. I was going number 2 once while browsing Reddit. I wiped my butt with the other hand, stood up and threw my phone in the toilet. I just stood there and said, what the frick? And looked at my duty-covered toilet paper. One of my exes and I met in the city. We always went on dates in the city and never close to where we lived. I'd just moved to the area. I'd heard of the place he lived in, but I didn't think it was close to where I lived and never really thought about it. Then I started staying over at his place, and when I was going home the following afternoons, I'd take the tram into the city center for 20 minutes and then the bus to get to my house, another 40 minutes. I honestly thought the village he lived in was far from my house, so I took the route I knew. Turns out he lives a 10-minute walk away. I did this like 8 times. When I was a kid, I had this genius idea. People are in wheelchairs because they can't lift their legs to walk, right? So what if you tied a length of string around your knee, held onto the other end, and marched yourself around like a puppet? I even named my genius invention. I called it leg reins. It never occurred to me that if you were paralyzed, you wouldn't be able to balance. It also didn't occur to me that I wasn't actually lifting my legs with my arms, I was doing it with my legs. I somehow didn't realize that the reason my dad got me to demonstrate my idea to everyone he knew, one after another whenever someone came over, was not because he was proud of the towering intellect his son possessed. I once started talking crap about a friend who I'd forgotten we'd just picked up and was sitting in the back seat of the car. This one still keeps me up at night. At a job I worked long ago, the crew boss had forgotten he had agreed to give Dave a ride home that night. We cut lawns at various places and Dave wasn't so good at it. We drove past one of those places on the way home and my boss started ranting. Fricking Dave, he missed half that lawn, it looks like crap. That guy is dumb as a rock. Dave quietly spoke up from the back seat. I'm trying my best. It was pretty quiet for the rest of the ride home. Similar story, but a friend of mine was talking about a girl he was trying to do the deed with that night. And yeah, she was sitting in the back seat and heard the entire thing. It was horrifying for everyone involved. I tied a couch behind a truck with tow straps. I rode on the couch down a gravel road. I smelled burning as the couch legs began to catch fire from friction. The couch leg catches in a pothole and bucks me 5 feet into the air. I have a brief moment of immediate regret. I spend next week sitting very carefully as my butt no longer had any skin on it. The barber, while cutting my hair, asks, "What do you do for a living?" And I replied, "I'm an accountant. You?" This happens in movie theaters and airports all the time. Enjoy the show. You too. Have a good flight. You too. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. I had the squirts at the beach from eating seafood, and still decided to go on a long walk. I ended up stranded and found a log facing the beach to sit on and surreptitiously go number 2. I covered everything in the big sandbox as it were, pulled up my bikini bottoms and felt relief, only to stand up and realize that there was an entire family sitting on their beach house deck behind me. They saw everything. Unable to find my phone, in a complete state of panic, I sent my friend a text asking, "Dude, did I leave my phone at your place? I can't find it anywhere." And he replied, "What are you using to send this text, genius?" I have never in my life been so ashamed. I once lost my phone, so I used my phone's light to search for it. I was in a bus, school trip. I even turned the phone back on when it locked the screen. Good times. The best part is I even asked a friend to help me while I pointed the light to his face. One time I tried to pass wind while playing online poker really late while my girlfriend was asleep. About half of the toot came out before I realized more was on its way out too. I caught that before it was too late and jumped up and started to run to the bathroom. I had headphones on and I yanked my head to the left and pulled my PC over as I kicked a 25-pound weight on the floor, broke my toe, and then crapped all over myself. If this doesn't convince people to buy wireless headsets, I don't know what will. Listen, some of us need really high-quality wired headsets for our gaming or our jobs processing and monitoring vast amounts of audio files. That said, this failure is spectacular. One of those times where the transition to 30 seconds before, happily playing your PC, to the present in pain, with a balked computer and covered in your own feces, just seems so impressive. The girl of my dreams came back to my place after dinner and drinks. We had been friends for a long time, but never a hint of anything more. I was in a sleeping bag on the floor. She told me, "Hey, you can jump up and under the quilt to get warm." And my response was, "Oh, the sleeping bag is really warm." It wasn't until the next day that I realized what I'd done. Wow, thinking about this makes me really depressed. That reminds me of something like that happening to me. I was sitting on the couch with this girl I knew, watching a movie. In the middle of it, she lays down and keeps trying to get comfortable and inching her way towards me. I finally noticed and said I'd get her a pillow and set her up a nice little spot on the other side of the couch. I'm so dumb. I once walked right into a road sign. I passed away and woke up in an alley. For real. When I was younger, I went on a date. Things started to get hot and heavy, so she grabbed my hand and put it up her skirt. I didn't know what to do down there, so I just cupped her hoo-ha for an hour. I once thought it would be a good idea to take 3 hits of a hallucinogenic substance and go to my cousin's middle school dance recital. It wasn't a good idea. It was a bad idea. It was a very fricking bad idea. Mine was one of those moments of true stupidity. I was finishing on the John and about to go to bed. I stood up and flushed. As I did, I thought I heard something plop into the bowl. I instantly reached in and, to my delight, grabbed the first thing I felt in my hand. I came up with a turd. I have 2. The first is the time I ended up in the hospital because of pasta. One night I was doing dishes that I'd left out for about a week. You know, uni life. And there was a piece of pasta heavily crusted into the bottom of the pot. I couldn't get it off with a sponge or with the brush I was using, so I tried to pick it off with my nails. I managed to pick a little bit too hard, and boom, the pasta shard is under my thumbnail up to about the halfway point. About 10 seconds later, my finger was dripping blood and I realized that the pasta was actually getting cooked by my blood and visions of awful infections started to run through my head. I decided to play it safe and go to the ER, and the doctor that ended up seeing me 3 hours later told me that I'd made the right choice coming in, which made me feel a little bit better. A couple of scalpels, some surgical scissors, and 30 minutes of excruciating pasta extraction later, I walked out of the hospital missing half of my thumbnail. It hurt like an absolute witch for the next week. I was told that I was the only pasta-related injury any of the doctors in the hospital at the moment had ever seen. The second time is the time I literally tried to be a helicopter and broke my wrist. I was 4 years old and on a field trip with my kindergarten class. It was lunchtime and we were all sitting on a jungle gym eating our lunches. For whatever reason, I decided it was a good idea to stop eating my lunch and walk to the top of the jungle gym so I could jump off. Don't ask me to explain it, it's been 17 years and I'm still amazed at my own inexplicable stupidity. I'm fortunate not to have won a Darwin Award so far. I'd recently learned what a hechelopter was, and was amazed that they could fly just by spinning things around. My flawless logic of the day was, if they can do it, why can't I? So seemingly without any discernible reason, little 4-year-old me put down his sandwich, marched to the top of the jungle gym, put his arms out at his sides and jumped off while spinning around in my best hechelopter impression. And that was how I got my first ambulance ride. In short, I accidentally tested ancient Chinese torture tactics on myself and also tried to be a helicopter at one point. I think so many people's stupidest moments can be summed up with, I can probably make this jump every single time. Hey guys, look, Mario just posted his answer. After a night of drinking, we went back to my then-boyfriend's place to chill. He turned on the TV, but I had other ideas. I pulled the rolling chair away from his computer desk, placing myself between him and the TV. I turned the chair backwards, threw my leg over in what I thought was going to be a seductive manner, whipped my hair a little, and ended up putting my foot down on the edge of the wheelie part on the other side. I rolled my ankle and my momentum carried me all the way over to the floor. I hit the ground, the chair back smashed my face, and my nose started bleeding. Not my brightest moment. I asked my friend if he got his car back from the garage while we were sitting in it. I am not a smart man. I was in a wheelchair in the hospital room, with my leg propped up with the wheelchair leg holder. The doctor said my sock needed to be taken off for him to look, so someone went forward to do it for me. And I was like, no, it's cool, I got it, and leaned over to take my sock off. Turns out the brakes weren't on the wheelchair. The whole wheelchair leaned forward and I landed right on my propped out foot and sprained ankle. Let's see, where to start? I once killed a pint of vodka straight on a dare. Spent the rest of the night ralphing. I fell for a prank of laying a stick across a shovel handle and then stomping the shovel spade to see how high the stick would go. I had my windshield tinted to 5% on my car. I sent a Nairobi prince some cash so I'd get a big return. Yeah, I actually did do this. I voted for Ross Perot in '92. I volunteered for several things in boot camp without knowing what they were. I rear-ended a cop car. During the questioning, I got the involuntary giggles, and when the cop asked if I thought it was funny, I said yes. In Little League, I chased a ball under the bleachers from the backside. Imagine running fast as the bleacher seats get lower and lower. I cracked my head open. I hit on a starting linebacker's girlfriend at a frat party. I even knew it was his girlfriend. Noticed my low oil pressure light on in the car, decided I could make it to the next exit 10 miles away. I took bowling as a hypers class in college, cheated on the final exam and got caught. Decided to jump in the water to piss. Left the boat in gear. Spent half an hour trying to pick up a quarter that someone else had superglued to a sidewalk. I'm really not as dumb as all this sounds, I'm just impulsive. Damn it, Kevin, is that you again? This sir or madam is very hard to pin down. On the one hand, they're self-aware enough to know that all of these things are dumb. On the other hand, half an hour picking up the quarter? To get a refresher on who or what Kevin was, watch our video, Teachers. What's your "that student definitely isn't going places" moment? Although maybe it's not him and it's this next guy. I fell asleep on a roof. A slanted roof. I rolled over. Ever have one of those dreams where you're falling? I woke up just before I hit the ground. I rode my bike under a truck. I made a slingshot that fired metal plates through trees. I took these plates off my father's cars and bikes. I made a stump remover, basically an IED for farm work. Got confused and got the measurements wrong. I figured this out while a 2-ton stump was about 80 feet in the air. I thought that my knife juggling skills would impress girls at a party. I'd been drinking heavily for that one. Did the deed on a trampoline. Advice: if you ever want to try that, don't. Your member can break. I also did the deed in the water at a beach. Advice: if you want to try this, don't. Sand gets everywhere, especially if you're uncircumcised. I shot myself with a .22 bullet. Not the gun, just the bullet. Well, and a hammer. I took half a pound of gunpowder to school. Tried to write my name on the football field. Turns out the guy with the distinctive name and no eyebrows can easily be identified. Another time I tried to jump a fence on a motorcycle. A barbed wire fence. Strangely, if this had gone just a little worse, the beach thing would have gone better. Parked my dad's car the wrong way, i.e. in a swimming pool. Tried to help a dog who'd been hit by a car. Had a large portion of my face torn open. That being said, I would do that one again. Lots more, but I'm a little tired. My wife thinks I'm stupid, by the way. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.